have a question. What is your favorite song and how do you connect with it? Is it when you fell in love or through something really difficult? I'm your host, Tiffany Mason. Now join me as I interview others and we take a walk down memory lane with them. Let's get lost in why that music matters to them. Turn up your radio and let's explore Memories with a Beat. Hello, Podcast Land. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Memories with a Beat. And I'm super excited because today I have a Taylor Swift expert with me. I have Marie Ellis Cook, and she is joining me, and we're going to talk a little bit about Taylor Swift. But first, Marie, I would love for you to tell my audience a little bit about yourself.
Yes, I would love to.
Okay.
Like Tiffany said, I'm Marie and I am a Taylor Swift expert. I have been a huge Taylor Swift fan since I was 15. When I was 17, she came to Singapore for the first time. My dad drove me to the airport at 4 a.m. to take me to see her.
Oh,
And it
goodness.
was wonderful. And I did cry and almost have a panic attack. And since then, I've moved to the US and I've also seen her during her Reputation Stadium tour in Seattle, Washington, which is where I met my husband. Not at the concert, but that's where I met my husband. And we were going to go see her at Lover Fest, but of course, COVID prevented that from happening. So that's just like the fun part about me. And professionally, I'm a life coach and I focus on narcissistic abuse recovery.
Okay.
And I'm also a mom, so I'm a pretty busy person.
Sure. How long have you guys been married?
We've been married a little over 2 years.
Okay. And how many children do you have?
I have one son.
Okay.
He is 13 months. And he loves Taylor Swift. We play Taylor Swift all the time. When I was pregnant with him, my husband would sing the song Lover to him. So we are a Taylor Swift house.
Okay. Bringing him up, he'll have a sensitive side to him, which is awesome. Every girl will appreciate that.
Yes.
Well, and I love the connection between music when you're pregnant and then once they're here in our arms. I did the same thing with my children, and I did a couple of episodes about that. And there's just a connection for them for sure that I know that I would just sing the same song and it would calm them down, once they were, like I said, in my arms. So awesome connection there. I think also your son probably realizes how happy that music makes you. And so it probably makes him happy that it makes you so happy. So probably a strong connection there as well.
Yes, definitely.
Are you guys still in the Pacific Northwest?
No, we actually just moved to Utah.
Oh, okay.
So,
very cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of changes lately, but it's been good.
Yeah. My husband and I moved quite a bit too, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It definitely builds character, if nothing else.
And helps you get rid of stuff when you move, because we definitely accumulate way too much rubbish, in my opinion. So, and I'm from Singapore, by the way, if anyone is wondering where my accent is from.
Yeah, I was actually wondering, so that's interesting and pretty interesting that you're here now and that you love Taylor Swift, of course.
Yes, I do.
Now, you also have a podcast, is that correct?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and what is your podcast about?
My podcast is called the Cook Coterie Podcast, and it's about the importance of living authentically. My husband and I both grew up in unstable home environments, and when we got pregnant with our son, we made it really, really important to us to do our best to be the kind of parents that we wish we had. And there were so many things we didn't learn growing up. We didn't learn how to regulate our own emotions. We didn't learn about finances. We were pretty much neglected. And so with the podcast, it's really about giving an opportunity for other people who've been in our shoes, a safe place to be able to learn about different topics.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm not familiar with the middle word of the title of your podcast. I know you had explained it to me, but if you would explain it to my audience, coterie am I saying it correctly?
Coterie. Yes.
And what does that mean exactly?
Yeah, so the word coterie can be a physical building, it can be a society or a group of people that have similar values. And so the cook coterie just represents what it would be like if you came to our house and had a conversation with us.
I love that so much, so much. I hope that at some point in your podcast you've kind of touched on that because that really gives it a intimate feeling, to the podcast itself. So that's really cool and cool that you want to bring it to light, give that safe space, and then maybe, improve. And I think we all do that with our childhood. We see what our parents did incorrectly and we try to fix those things. I mean, my dad was a huge smoker and that just motivated me to not be a smoker. So, it's just things like that that we see. And I think that that's a great mission for you guys, especially now that you have another generation that you're raising, just trying to do better by him. So that's awesome. Very good.
Thank you.
Of course. Well, now let's maybe jump into something kind of fun. The reason why I brought you on here is to talk about a song that you selected. I looked up to see when this song was released, and it was actually released during the pandemic. So I wonder if it was a product of the pandemic. Maybe it was a project she had been working on. Well, if you know, I mean, definitely fill me in. But at this point, if you want to let my audience know what song you chose, I'll let you actually just take it away. You say the name of the song, the title, and we'll go from there.
Okay, so the name of the song I've chosen is called Invisible String by
Mhm.
Taylor Swift. It's from her album Folklore that was released. Oh dear, I should know this. I
July
believe, oh,
2020.
July. Okay, I was going to say
Mhm.
August. July
Okay.
2020, when the pandemic started and I was also pregnant. And
Mm.
so I love this song for so many reasons. I mean, just the word invisible string reminds me of my connection with my son, not just being connected to him with an umbilical cord, but this sense of closeness for someone that I've never met before
Mm.
is one of the reasons why I love this song.
Mhm. Mhm. So I thought it was gonna be maybe about how you met your husband. So I love this little spin turn of events. What is your son's name?
His name is Sam.
Okay, Sam. Very cool. And is there any background meaning to the name Sam?
No.
No, there wasn't for us either. I mean, our children's name are just something we liked, so there's nothing wrong with that either. We don't have any family heritage or any cool story necessarily. So, yeah, it's fine that it's Sam, and that's what you just liked, and so that's what his name is. So,
Yeah.
do you choose to put this song on, or is it like you're walking through the store and it comes on? I've never heard this song, so is it on the radio?
I don't listen to the radio, so I don't know.
Okay.
Because even when I'm in a car, I have Apple Music on shuffle, so I don't know if it plays on the radio.
I was thinking about that the other day. I got a fairly new vehicle and it has a little bit, just a tiny bit of static, and it was driving me crazy. And they said that if you're always like streaming the music, which I do the same thing that you're saying that you do, I either have a podcast on or I'm choosing my music. They said that for some reason Jeep vehicles don't like Apple products, although they have Apple CarPlay in their vehicles, so that doesn't make sense. But anyway, and he was saying you may be getting a little bit of static from the streaming part of like, you're pulling that music in opposed to it just being on the radio. And sure enough, when I listen to the radio, it's crystal clear. So, anyways, I do the same thing where I just pick what I want to listen to. So, when you turn this song on, what is the mood that you're in, or what makes you think like, "Ooh, I just want to listen to Invisible String"?
This song came out during a really stressful time in my life. We were back in Washington State. We lived
Mm-hmm.
on the east side of Seattle, and there were riots going on in downtown
Mm,
Seattle and downtown Bellevue. We lived 10 minutes from downtown Bellevue, and I was pregnant.
mm,
And my phone would be blowing up every day. Are you safe? Are you okay? From my family and friends back in Singapore.
mm-hmm,
And so not only was I worried about that situation, I was also pregnant and there was a virus going on and there wasn't much information about COVID-19 at the time. And when I would put my earphones in and listen to the song, it brought me a tangible amount of peace. Like I could feel
Mm.
so calm immediately. And that's something that I've always resonated with Taylor Swift's music,
Mm.
is that she has such a way with words that how she's feeling, whether she's feeling calm or sometimes even angry in certain breakup songs she has, you can actually feel her emotions. And in this song, I feel like she's singing from such a place of peace and calmness that it was able to be transferred to me, and it would
Mm.
bring me such a serenity, even though there was chaos all around me at that point of time in my life.
Yeah. Are there some specific lyrics that when you listen to the song, you're like, "Oh, I love this part," or, or is there some imagery that really you completely connect to and you're like, "That's it?" When you listen to the song, what pulls you in?
I mean, we can start from the very beginning.
Yeah. When you were talking about feeling her emotion, for whatever reason, I think 2 summers ago, we were just, "You Need to Calm Down." That song was just like our anthem that summer.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that song too because when I think of "You Need to Calm Down," I think of the importance of acceptance because whether someone is part of the LGBTQ community or not, we all know what it's like to feel left out, to feel like society may not accept us. And I mean, when I came to the US, I went when I attended university here. That's why I first
Mm.
moved here. And I remember feeling so confused, when people are like, at the grocery store, Marie, go get a cart. And I'm like, what's a cart? And for me, it's a shopping trolley. And I remember I moments like that, they're so simple, but they would give me so much anxiety. And
Mm.
it took me a while, but I was able to find friends who I felt like accepted me and didn't think sushi was weird. And it's just sometimes it just takes time, to find
Mhm.
people who accept you. And the thing is, too, there will also be people who won't accept you, and that's okay. They have a right to
Right.
do that, and we could stay away from them. And if they don't want to calm down, that's on them. But yeah, I love that song too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's head back to Invisible String and go over some of these lyrics that really just kind of, that you connect with that pull at your heartstrings when you hear this song.
So in the first chorus, she says, what she sings, I mean. Time, curious time, gave me no compasses, gave me no signs, were there clues I didn't see. And I remember before I met my husband, or even just when I was a teenager, and I was, for lack of a better word, I was ugly. I had
Oh.
horrible acne, and because I am mixed race, my father is Caucasian and my mother is Chinese. I have really big teeth from my dad and a small mouth from my mother. And so my teeth were like super jacked up. It was like no space for them. I don't even know how I had so many
Mm.
teeth. And I had braces and I always felt so ugly. And as I got older and my friends would date and be relationships, I was like, that I will never have that. I will never
Mm.
have a happy relationship. I won't have children because who would accept me?
Oh.
Like I just felt so unworthy of love. And also because I did grow up with an emotionally abusive parent.
Mhm.
And so when I see these words and when I hear them in the song, it reminds me of how I just felt so clueless about life when I
Mm.
was younger. And when she sings, were there clues I didn't see? It's like, did I miss them?
Mm.
You know? But at the same time, it's like because as time went on, I was able to find a great love. I found my husband, and then eventually
Mhm.
I do have a child of my own. It's like, even though time or the situations that happen in the past can deeply hurt us, but time also allows us to find great things as well.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. And not for nothing, but your smile is beautiful now. I think you have a very beautiful smile, Marie.
Thank you. 4
Yes,
years of
ma'am.
braces.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Yep, you did the time, but it looks great now.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And then going back to how wounds of my past used to really affect me and how I healed in the second chorus. And one of the reasons why I love this song is every chorus has different lyrics. Because
Hmm.
usually a chorus of a song has the same lyrics, but
Yep.
each chorus has a different one. So the second chorus goes, time, mystical time, cutting me open, then healing me fine.
Mm.
And how I used to be so afraid of certain situations in my life. And I'd be like, this is like the end of the world, it's horrible. But I pushed through and I ended up being okay. And I do believe that time can heal wounds.
Of course. Yep. I agreed.
And when I held on to my healing journey, I was able to get what I really wanted, which was to be in a healthy,
Hmm.
loving, stable
Hmm.
relationship,
That's
and then
so awesome.
eventually build a family in a safe home.
Yeah, I thought that the beat of the chorus was so fun. Like she has a good way of mixing in a little bit of like it's kind of slow, right? And then her chorus is kind of fast, and then it slows down again. Like she goes into like meaning and then almost like celebration and then meaning and then celebration. Yeah, so I think it has a good flow to the song itself.
And I love that you brought that up because it is a celebration that she's gone through different kinds of pain. Like, for example, in the bridge, she says, a string that pulled me out of all the wrong arms. And I've had my fair share of dating losers and having my heart broken. And I wish I could go back to Marie like 5 years ago, dating some loser and be like, your husband is kind of busy right now, but just like hold on. And, don't lower your standards. Just keep pressing on, like you'll find the right person. And then in verse 3, I love the line, hell was the journey, but it brought me heaven. Because it's not easy. It's not easy. I mean, it's one thing to be in an abusive relationship, but growing up in an abusive home is different because having to heal from your childhood is like a whole different ball game when it comes to healing. And it's like
Mhm.
I've put in the work. I mean, I'm still on my healing journey, but I've spent the past 6 years in therapy, healing
Mm.
and hoping that I can attract the kind of person that I am. And so I love that line. Like, because
Yeah.
I can totally relate that hell was my journey, but it brought me heaven because every day is heaven with my husband and my son now.
I love that. I love that you got a happy ending for sure.
I mean, it's not perfect, I should say that.
Oh, girlfriend, we know.
So, but like, but it's like my version of heaven. When my husband and I first got married, like we were in a small one-bedroom apartment. We slept on a mattress on the floor, but I loved it.
Yep.
I
Yep.
loved it.
Yep.
It was all I ever wanted. No one was screaming at me. Like it was so peaceful. It was
Yeah, I
wonderful.
think that all those trials that we go through, they make us the people that we are. And meeting somebody of the same fabric, it helps you guys team up or become a force, that you guys are working towards a common goal, which will drive you guys closer and closer together as well. Yeah. And no marriage is ever perfect. I mean, I would say the same thing like, I'm in my heaven, but catch me on the wrong day. You might hear something different, We have 3 kids and not every day is, amazing, but the reality of it is that you have a lot of gratitude for what you have. It's not so much that it's perfect. It's just that you're so thankful for everything that you have and where you are now compared to where you were. So, I think that's an important lesson, and it's so important just to have gratitude in general. And, you are right that childhood wounds are a lot harder to heal because I think it's like, I don't know, ages 2 to 8 or something like that, or five to 11. I don't know. It's somewhere in there that's really where you build who you are, your belief system, your, morals, values. And so it's really hard to heal from that because that's what was ingrained in you at that time. And now that you're older, you know differently, but it's hard to shake some of that stuff from when you were a kid.
Exactly. And the voice that becomes your inner voice is the voice that your parents use towards you.
Mm-hmm.
And so if your parent would criticize you frequently or tell you you're not good enough, you believe that, you take that in.
Mm-hmm.
And I sometimes like to think that Taylor is like my mother, but really she's more like a big sister because we're not like
Yeah.
that far in age. But there were just so many times growing up, I just would just tune everything out and listen to Taylor Swift,
Mm-hmm.
and that would make me feel safe.
That's probably why it meant so much for you to go to that concert too, though, is because you found some serenity in her and some safety in her. And so then to go to that concert, you're just like, oh my gosh, this is the person that, takes me away from everything. And here I am in front of her and I can't even believe it. So that's amazing.
Yeah, it was wonderful, and it's still my dream to take my husband to go see her sometime. Hopefully, she
Hmm.
tours soon. She has all these new albums, so I don't know what kind of tour it would be because she's released so many albums since COVID started. So
Did you watch the documentary about her, about folklore?
yes, the Long Pond session on Disney Plus.
Yes, yes, yes. I was trying to remember what it was called, but yeah, Long Pond Sessions. Yeah, of course you watched it. Of course you did.
I think I watched it in the middle of the night, nursing a newborn.
Hey, you got to find something, right?
Yeah, to stay awake, and it's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
Taylor Swift stuff, yes, that will help me stay awake.
Good choice. Well, is there anything else that you would add about this song, Marie?
Going back to verse 3,
Hmm.
um, Taylor Swift sings, for the boys who broke my heart, now I send their babies presents. And that was a reminder for me of her growth as well,
Mm,
because I felt like the way I dated also mirrored her. So like if she had like a messy breakup, I was like, oh, that's what a breakup's supposed to be like. I'm gonna like follow Taylor Swift and do it too. Because like I said, I was neglected as a child and I like didn't really learn human relations
mm-hmm,
in a healthy way.
mm-hmm,
And so that just shows like her growth as well. And I appreciate that because I'm trying to be like that as well. Like to not, and I'm not saying like for any listener who's like, I don't want to be friends with my ex-boyfriend, and I'm not saying you have to, but there is a sense of confidence that you can present yourself when you go through a breakup in a civil, graceful way.
mm-hmm,
And, her including the line, now I send their babies presents, even though she is now in a happy relationship. She's been with Joel Alwyn for what, like almost 5 years now.
mm.
But yet she has the grace to like give presents to her exes, which I think is a very decent thing to do.
Yeah, I think grace is a good word, and I think grace explains Taylor Swift as well. And you're right, she has come a long way. And at the beginning of our interview, you said something that made me think, like, yeah, she's gone through her whole love life, like publicly, really. So yeah, I think that she's grown up in the spotlight, she's dated in the spotlight, and yeah, she definitely has grace now where she's able to, extend an olive branch and say, let me get your baby a present. And I think that that's a good word, grace. Very graceful of her to do that, or gracious. Hmm.
I
Yep.
think that was it for the song. It's a wonderful song.
Yeah, no, I love the connection to it. And you guys are definitely going to have to go listen to it because it does her talking about this invisible string really does help you to see how the fabric of her life is weaving together, and how, she's talking about finding this love and being attached and all the things that she goes through in the song. It's just a cool imagery, and I think that she's so good with that, like you were saying, just with the words and stuff that she uses. But it will be on the playlist, just like it always is, Apple Music, YouTube, and Spotify. So if you guys want to listen to it along with any other songs from any of the other interviews, all of Marie's information will be in the show notes, including her podcast. If you guys know of somebody who maybe didn't have an ideal childhood, and maybe that would give them a little bit of solace or a little bit of misery loves company, maybe that's a podcast that you'd like to share with somebody in your life that you think could benefit. So that will be in the show notes as well. And Marie, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you taking time out of your day and time away from your little one to spend a little bit of time with me and my audience.
Thank you so much for having me, Tiffany. I had a lot of fun.
Well, good. And I hope you all enjoyed it as well, Podcast Land. I hope this episode was music to your ears. Well, that was fun, wasn't it? You never know what rabbit holes we'll get to go down and explore. Were you reminded of anything? Or anyone? Share what it was with me in a review. Honestly, the reviews don't do me any favors other than knowing people like you are listening to this podcast. Insert cheesy wink. However, the ratings do help, so leave me 5 stars. You know you wanna. This podcast was produced by Virtual You, supporting you in all things podcasting. To connect or check me out on social media, I mean, I know you're just gonna stalk me. But see the show notes, as always, for details. Can't wait to dive into my next guest's memories with a beat. Hit subscribe now. You don't want to miss the next episode.